In July 2025, we were invited to Israel to be part of the Jerusalem prayer breakfast. And while we were there, we stayed longer in the land with friends and ministry partners on the ground. We listened to their updates, sewed into their ministries, and asked what life is really like when you're not just watching the news from a distance.
That extra time became a 3-part series we were calling Borderlines. In the first episode, we stood just inside the border of Syria. In the second, we were on the border of Gaza during wartime, less than a kilometer from where Hamas broke through on October 7th.
So today is the third and final episode. This time we are within the border in Judea and Samaria near the town of Efrat. The name itself reaches back into the biblical story. Now scripture speaks of Bethlehem Ephratah in Micah 5:2. It's the place from which Israel's ruler would come. The Book of Ruth, chapter 4, verse 11, also connects Bethlehem and Ephratah to the story of Ruth and Boaz, the line that leads to King David and then ultimately to Jesus the Messiah.
What you're about to hear is not polished studio audio. You're walking with us along the road. You'll hear the wind, footsteps, side conversations, interruptions, and people speaking in real time. We were part of a small group of about 15 people from different countries, walking with IDF soldiers, members of the local community, and even members of the Israeli Knesset.
And we were told that this was the first group brought into this specific area since the founding of the modern state of Israel in 1948. Soldiers were in front of us and behind us, and we were being watched from above to help keep the group safe.
The destination was an ancient Jewish site known as the Pools of Solomon, a water system connected to Jerusalem, the Temple Mount, and the story of Jewish presence in the land. Because of a line on a map after Oslo, this site ended up behind Palestinian Authority control and has been neglected for years.
So we want you to walk with us, not just to hear about a place, but listen to the people who are trying to recover a story that's been sitting behind a borderline for far too long. Thanks for joining us. This is the Jewish Road Podcast. We begin in Efrat. It's about 15 minutes south of Jerusalem in the heart of Judea. The group that gathered that morning came together in less than 48 hours. It was a bit wild. These were IDF leaders, local officials, a rabbi, a filmmaker, ministry friends. Sounds a little bit like a joke, doesn't it? A member of the Knesset, and people just like us who had come to listen and to learn.
Plan was simple but not easy. We were going to cross a gate and walk toward the Pools of Solomon. For most tourists, this is not on the itinerary. In fact, for most Israelis who live nearby, this is not a place they have been able to visit safely.
That is what makes part of this moment so unusual. There are people living within a half mile of this site who have never seen it until today. They've driven past it, they've lived beside it, they've known about it, but they haven't been able to actually walk it.
And this is not a random site. The pools served as a major water source for Jerusalem and the Temple Mount for centuries. Water flowed from these hills toward the city where Israel worshipped, sacrificed, prayed, and gathered for the feasts.
So before we even start walking, you will hear the people on the ground explain why this place matters, why it's been neglected, and why they believe the way forward begins with simply putting feet on the land again.
Good morning, everyone. I want to say welcome to Member of the Knesset, Ohad Tal. I think he's part of this group in the last days. So welcome, Ohad. Also, thank you very much for Pnaya. That's all of what you can see now. We have with us two members of the Council of the Efrat, Shai Fleischer and Hanani Fagin. And of course, thank you very much to Colonel, to General Kal, the commander of all this area. Today, we are going to see the Solomon's Pool. Solomon's Pool, I told some of you in Jerusalem, it's the main place that gives water to Jerusalem. from the days of the Maccabim, the Hashmonaim, until 80 years ago. I'm talking about 2,000 years that this place supplied the water of Jerusalem and the Temple Mount.
Yeah.
So we are going to see this place, and we are going to see it for two reasons. One, to know it and make it a part of Efrat. We want to make it a part of Efrat. And the second, we want to do this way that we are going to walk today, something that you can go without army, without anybody. Like you are going to your grocery in the morning. This is the reason you are here. I want to show you the way. You see this shaft? 20 meters from here. This shaft is this on the map.
You all have in your bags also your own.
You can see it after
with you.
And you can take it.
We are going to cross the gate and go this way to Solomon's pool. Now, trees. This is the big one. Unfortunately, because they are not there dry, and the other two. Please keep a hat on your head and water your mouth. Because we are going in a very hot day.
Once we passed through the gate, the conversation changed. It was no longer about logistics, security, or who was walking with us. The land itself started preaching.
We were walking between Efrat and Bethlehem, along a corridor that reaches deep into Scripture. It's amazing because as we were going, this area is tied to Ruth and Boaz, to the line of David, and to the promise that would one day come through Bethlehem Ephrata.
That is what is so hard to capture if you have never stood there. You're not walking through an abstract Bible map. You're standing in the kind of place where the story moves from one generation to the next.
And the conversation turned towards Solomon. When Solomon dedicated the temple, he prayed not only for Israel, but for the foreigner who would come from a far country because of the name of the Lord. So his vision was never small. In his mind, Jerusalem was meant to become a house of prayer that would reach out to the nations.
So as we walked down towards the pools, we were not only looking at stones and water channels, we were hearing a larger question. What if Israel's restoration was never meant to bless Israel alone, but to bless the nations through Israel?
To one of the interesting, exciting, magical place. Because we here in the place that connect the city of Efrat and Bethlehem, the main main path from Judea to Jerusalem. And this is the place that we're reading in the Bible in the Book of Ruth.
Wow.
Where the wedding of Boaz and Ruth, who started the lineage of King David and King Solomon, is here.
Wow.
Okay? So in a very, very important place for all of us.
Yeah.
The place that symbolizes grace and kindness.
Yes.
And holiness and a vision. And some of you may think that as we go down to the pools, we're going to the past. As we're going down, we're going back in history. But the truth is that as we're going back, we're going forward. As we're going to the past, we're going to the future.
Yeah.
Because we're going to see not just a pool, we're going to see a vision. We can say a prophecy. Because when King Solomon built the first temple, when he, in the foundation of the temple, he prayed that this place will be a place that all human beings around the world will come here to pray. We can say that he was the one who saw a universal vision, universal prophecy about how it's going to be.
Yeah.
That all mankind from all around the world, from Sao Paulo, from Chicago, from all over America and all over the world will come here to be together, to pray together.
Yeah.
But he was so smart, the most wise man in history, that he knew that we have to build the infrastructure. We have to build the land. We have to do something. We have to understand how to prosper in this land in order to bring everyone here, in order that Am Yisrael will be blessed to the whole world.
Amen.
And it's starting with those building, with those houses, with this city. It's starting with that pools that symbolize the grace, the life that we want to bring to this land and from this specific land to the whole world. So God will bless all of us in wisdom, in courage, to do the right thing in order to bring bless, not just to the city of Efrat, but from the city of Efrat to the whole world.
So that prayer of Solomon that the nations would one day come to Jerusalem did not stay locked in the ancient world. You can actually still hear it being argued in our own day. Who does the land belong to? Who gets to tell its story? And what happens when the nations come, not just as tourists, but as witnesses?
And a few minutes later, that question really became very personal. Member of Knesset Ohad Tal stopped and pointed to the roof of his own home. This is one of the things people often miss when they talk about Israel from far away. These are not just political positions. These are families, homes, kids, roads, villages, and real security concerns.
He described the night of the Iranian missile attack in April 2024. The missiles were frightening, but what concerned him even more was the mob coming from the nearby Arab village, walking the road below his home and shouting as though another October 7th could happen right there in Efrat.
And that's the tension of this place. You can stand in one spot and see biblical history. You can see modern homes, ancient water systems, and present danger all at once.
And I want to show where I live. Okay, so I live, the first roof you see here on this hill, the first roof, that's the roof of my home. Okay, this is where I live with my kids.
Awesome.
And that's just to understand the reality. Yeah, we have a interesting view, but just to understand, on the first Iranian attack, it was on, I think, April 14, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
When they struck Israel with 300 ballistic missile. I wasn't concerned.
April 24.
April 24. Okay, thank you so much. So I wasn't concerned about the missiles coming from Iran, despite the fact that it was actually frightening. But I was more concerned about the mob coming from this village here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and they walk here on this, where you see the cars right now running. Okay, so they walked on this road and they were shouting, Allahu Akbar. And we were hearing them. If they're coming to commit another October 7th here in Efrat. So that's the reality. I mean, we live so close.
So
and
this is an Arab village.
That's an Arab village, of course. You can see that's an Arab village. You can see the mess. It's not a Jewish way of building towns and villages. And that's basically like a suburb of Bethlehem.
So they were coming.
And they were coming, yes, and thanks to our brave soldiers who hold them back. But that's a little bit to understand the reality here.
Is that very good?
Yes, that's a suburb of Bethlehem. Yeah. Okay, I don't want to take too much of your time, so we'll keep walking.
What happens next helps explain why this place has been hidden in plain sight for so long. The story turns from geography to a line on a map.
After Oslo, the land was divided into areas of control. On paper, the Solomonic pools were supposed to remain accessible as part of the Israeli side. But according to what we heard on the ground, when the map was marked, the name was crossed off instead of the actual pools. The label made it in, the site did not.
And that might sound like a small technical error, the kind of thing that happens in a negotiation room or on a government document, but maps have consequences. Lines on paper become fences, risks, restrictions, and generations of people who grow up beside a place that they're not able to see.
For more than 30 years, this mistake has shaped what happened to the pools, an ancient site connected to Jewish history, Jerusalem, and the temple, ended up cut off, neglected, and largely unreachable without soldiers.
So when you hear them talk about the Oslo mapping mistake, remember this is not only about a map, it's about memory, access, history, and who gets to preserve the story.
Out water. Yeah. See, the first one, the second, the third. This is what we call a C area according to the Oslo Agreement. And this is what we called an A area. Very A. Big mistake.
Yeah. Explain what it is.
Prime Minister Rabin on 1993 decided to put those pools, Solomon's pool, in the sea area, in the Israel area. He told the officer that works with him, please take your pan and make those 3 pools inside this area. You look at the map. They saw the name Solomon's Pool here. So they took the pan and crossed the name Solomon Pool and didn't notice that they missed the pool itself.
So the name.
After this agreement, they signed the agreement. They came home from Washington. And now 32 years they had to live with this big mistake.
Even when you're trying to do the right.
Once the question of the map is on the table, the conversation widens, because the same territory that makes it hard for Jews to access their own history has also become deeply difficult for the Christian communities around Bethlehem.
Bethlehem is one of the most familiar names in the world to Christians. Songs are sung every December to mark the incarnation. We read about it in Micah 5:2, and we know it as the place tied to Messiah's birth. But the modern reality around Bethlehem is actually much more complicated than most Christians realize.
You're going to hear a hard claim in this section that the Christian population around Bethlehem has been shrinking, threatened, and silenced under pressure from the Palestinian Authority and Islamist movements. That doesn't fit the simple categories many people carry around in their heads.
And that is why we wanted you to hear the voices on the ground. Not because every statement is easy to process, but these are conversations that are taking place among people who live close enough to see the pressure and name the fear, and then speak about what many Christians in the West actually never hear.
So listen carefully. This section is not only about Jewish history, it's also about the Christian presence in the land of the Bible and what happens when fear teaches people to stay silent.
It's about 7% of that. Wow. That 7%. Bethlehem, that obviously was the center of true Christian life and really a fountain of life, has now become predominantly a fundamentalist Islamic city. Unfortunately, not only Hamas, not only Palestinian Islamic Jihad, but under the guidelines of the Palestinian Authority. That's what's happening. The Palestinian Authority is doing everything that it can to wipe out anything that was foreign. They'll say that we're a religion for everyone, we protect everyone. That's not true. They're responsible for really the exile of the Christian population. They're responsible for really destroying every Christian site that they can't use and abuse for their own propaganda. And so that's something which we have to understand is going on here. It's something which is spreading around the whole area. There were different areas around Bethlehem that all had Christian populations. They are now completely threatened. You hear them saying, well, we support Hamas and we support the Palestinian Authority. It's not true. Don't believe the hype. They are afraid. They are scared. They are living under a violent jihadi dictatorship that if they open their mouth and they say anything else, they will be killed. It's very simple. And nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Stephen Corey, who we saw last night, his father's church has been firebombed.
So I work at the Jerusalem Center for Security and Foreign Affairs. I wrote a whole paper on the Christian population in the area towards December last year, Christmas last year, to see what's going on. It's something that I believe that we shouldn't tolerate anymore.
Amen.
And there are, I hope, some things that can be done to change that picture. It's something that, please God, we'll be able to develop certain ideas that are coming up and that will make that change. When you look at the wider area, now don't be afraid. But there's a reason why there's officers here and there's soldiers here. This is an area which is not free of terrorism in any way, shape, or form. In every single area you have, in all of the towns and villages around us, Bethlehem, you heard what Ohad said. When these people can come out under the cover of the Iranian barrage to shout, "Itbach Eliud, let's kill the Jews," that's their ideological drive. That's right. What drives them every single day. That's what's pushing them forward. And this area particular has been the source of dozens, and if not more than that, of suicide attacks, the starts of suicide attacks. When Vinaya introduced me, he said that I was the previous head of the prosecution for Judea and Samaria. You see these people in court, and it's not the soldiers who have guns. You're in court. You're just standing there in your uniform, and there are these crazy jihadi terrorists, and you hear not even the absence of any remorse, but the complete belief in what they're doing. Mm-hmm. That is the terrorism that's being generated here in every single mosque, unfortunately, not being used for holy purposes, but being used for incitement against the state of Israel, against Jews, against the Jewish presence, against the historical presence in this area. And that's unfortunately the situation that we have. Quiet now, they may be enjoying a few minutes, but every night these guys are out in these villages arresting terrorists. There have been, just in the last year and a half under the war, suddenly all of these terrorists sprung up. They gained courage.
Yes.
And so there have now been thousands and thousands of them arrested, some of them prosecuted, some held in other ways. But that's the work of the IDF every single day, every single night, here to defend us and to defend really the rights of civilized humanity, to continue on against the genocidal terror.
After hearing about Bethlehem, the Palestinian Authority, terror activity, and nightly IDF arrests, we needed to know who was speaking with such authority.
This is one of the gifts of walking the land with people who know it from the inside. You're not sitting in a classroom listening to theory. You are on the road with soldiers nearby, asking questions in real time of the people who have carried responsibility in this region.
So we stopped and asked him to introduce himself. His name is Maurice Hirst, a lieutenant colonel in the IDF reserves. He has worked in the legal and security world of Judea and Samaria, and now heads a project focused on Palestinian Authority accountability and reform.
In the next section, he explains why the Solomonic pools matter, why the site has been neglected, and why the danger is not imagined. He also says something that gets to the heart of the whole issue. This place is living proof of Jewish history in the land.
And this is important because in a time of history when history is not being recorded on paper, but digitally, we run the risk of history being erased. And if you can erase the places, change them as if they never existed, you can start rewriting the story.
Okay, so I was requested by the general, and we always listen to the general. I'll give you the dream in our speech in a second about our vision when we get to the top. But one thing I want to talk about is, we have a goal, dream, to preserve these pools. These pools are holy. These pools are historic, and these pools, until right before the Oslo Accords, and these people, I actually have, these people have come here. These pools were full, and they were beautiful, and they were clean, and you were able to swim and drink from them.
Wow.
And we want to bring it back to that level,
Amen.
and that is one of our missions and one of our goals. And hopefully on the top, I'll share with you how we plan on doing that and what our directions we're going to take. So thank you. Let's walk up.
Let's go.
Before Maurice speaks, someone from the local team adds one more layer. He describes the dream to preserve these pools and bring them back to life. Before Oslo, he says people came here The pools were full, they were clean, they were beautiful, and part of the life of the area.
And it's important because this episode is not only about what was lost, it's about what could be restored. And so the people walking with us were not there just to simply point at ruins and complain about the past. They were talking about access and preservation. They want to see safety and tourism, education, and the possibility that this place could become part of the normal Israel experience again.
And that's where the spiritual and political questions meet. What do you do with a site that bears witness to Jewish history, sits under the wrong authority, and remains too dangerous for ordinary people to visit?
So Maurice is about to explain why almost nobody comes here, why visitors need military support, and why this is not just a fight over land, but a fight over education, ideology, memory, and the truth. What's your name?
My name is Maurice Hirst, Lieutenant Colonel in the reserves in the IDF. I head the project for Palestinian Authority Accountability and Reform in the Jerusalem Center for Security and Foreign Affairs.
And where are we right now? What's the significance?
We are at Solomon's Pools. These are pools that were built in the time of the temple in order to bring water from the southern hills of Judea all the way up to Jerusalem. This was one of the major stop points and the gathering points of the water, opening the gates on the one hand and closing them on the other, gathering up the water and letting it flow through when it goes. The importance of this is that this is another one of the sites that shows the history of the Jewish people in the land of Israel. It is one of the most amazing sites because it's here. It's living proof of what was, what happened, and what could be. And that's really the driving factor. It's the understanding. When you look at the side, I don't know if you can see the side above us, you can see that it is completely neglected. It's because, unfortunately, it was on the wrong side of a line in a map as part of the Oslo Accords, and it's now under the control of the Palestinian Authority. The Palestinian Authority's ideology is not to just destroy the site because it's not their history. It's to destroy the site because it is our history. It's Jewish history. It's Judeo-Christian values that come here that say this was the site of civilization. And so their goal is to destroy that idea of civilization that was here and to replace it with their false narrative.
Let's keep walking because I know that we're at the end of the trail here, but there's not a lot of groups that come here, right? This is, we're the first of only. Nobody comes on a tour here.
This is a very, very, very special tour. Almost nobody gets to come here. Unfortunately, just behind us is Bethlehem and the outskirts of Bethlehem, an entirely hostile city that many terrorists, suicide bombers, and attackers have come out of. So you can't really come here just freely, even though it should be a site which is visited all the time and kept up, a great tourism site. Unfortunately, it's one of those sites which you can't get to because it's just too dangerous. And people who come here without an army support and without army cover could quite reasonably face mortal danger.
We just talked to the rabbi of Efrat and another guy in the IDF who's lived here since 98. He said, this is the first time I've come up here this far to the second pool.
Yeah.
We're fighting an ideology. How do you fight an ideology? You can't kill your way out of this problem.
There's only, I believe that there's only one thing that we need to do with our Palestinian neighbors. And it's very, very simple. It's literally a no-brainer. All we have to do is re-educate them that it's not okay to murder people. That's it. You don't need anything else. But under the Palestinian Authority in the last 30 years of the Oslo Accords, all they've been taught is that it's okay to murder Jews. And they don't care if they murder Jews, they murder not Jews. Yaron Lishansky, that was murdered in Washington, was a devout Christian. He was murdered because the terrorists thought that he was a Jew, because that's what they've been taught. That's their education. And until you change the education, it's like whack-a-mole. You can hit every terrorist on the head. But until you change the education, until you change the fundamental poisoning of the minds of the Palestinians by the Palestinian Authority, when I fear that we're not going to get anywhere, and they won't change.
It reminds me of what Golda said when she said, we'll have peace when they love their children more than they hate ours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they don't. They teach hatred. They teach, they send their children to die as martyrs just to kill Jews. And then in one of the most unhuman, I would say, unnatural expressions of joy, parents celebrate the death of their children. That's not something that you see in normal civilized societies, but that's what they've been conditioned to believe. That's what they've been taught to believe. That's what they live every day. How do you get someone who's going to come across a line, take babies and put them in ovens? That's something that doesn't happen a day.
It's pure evil.
It's evil.
It's satanically driven, I think.
We say train up a child in the way they go, and then they won't depart, and it works both ways.
Exactly. If you teach good values to the children, then they'll grow up as good human beings. If you teach them to hate, kill, and be killed, then that's going to be their destiny. And if you celebrate their death as parents, we're in a bad situation.
That conversation was one of the heaviest parts of the day. Maurice made the point plainly. You cannot kill your way out of an ideology. If children are taught to hate, the future will keep reproducing the same violence.
And that's why education matters so much in Scripture. Proverbs tells us to train up a child in the way he should go. That principle can be used for life, and it can be twisted toward death. What gets formed in a child's heart does not stay theoretical. It grows up into a worldview and eventually into action.
So after talking about the danger, the group turned back toward the future of the site. What happens if this place stops being off limits? What would it take for families and students, Israelis and Christians, tour groups, and people with disabilities to experience this place in safety?
That's when the dream started to take shape. A city gate, 6 shafts, access into the water system, dry routes, water holes, ladders, ropes, and a path that could make the Solomonic pools not only known, but visited.
The restoration vision is ambitious, but the heart behind it is simple. They believe this place is protected by people coming, by feet on the ground, and by the story being seen, told, and carried.
Reality. Okay, we want to bring this to a reality, a common. We want to build this system, and I'm going to share with you a little bit of how we plan to do that. I want every child and adult in Israel, and I want every Christian from the States that comes here to come and see this. Okay, this is an experience that is just jaw-dropping to see what unbelievable true history it is and what the potential could be here until we bring back full pools. How we plan to do that is, as we started, I remember we started from this shaft, okay? As you can see here, there's a map, and you can see in this, you each have each one to sit home. You can actually see the 6 shafts right here that are starting from here, that are peeling through these all the way down to the mountain. Okay? Well, we are building a system, and when we bring a group, and a group that will be from adults, adults that are way older than you, and are going to come all the way to the kids. They're going to come to this mountain, start here, and what we see is City Gate. The City Gate is going to be built right here in this crevice next to you. Oh. Okay? And the City Gate is going to come and have a handicap access to be able to come and start the tour. There are going to be 6 shafts, and you're going to go down into the canal that has the water. Okay? This is the canal that I remember that I showed you the picture of my brother. There's actual water down there that is flowing that you're going to go down. And each one's going to it's going to start from an accessible route, okay, up to wheelchairs even, to be able to come down, see the route, go into the shaft, and go down. Then you're going to go up. There's going to be stairs. There's going to be another one that comes down with ladders. There's going to be a snappling one. Up to 105 feet, you're going to snapple down, okay, with ropes. Yeah. So rope down. And the first one's going to be options for handicap, and to go down and then go in the water, okay? And you're going to have a choice. You can go down the ladders with dry or with water. And there's going to be another one where you're going to go down because this one doesn't reach all the way, and you're going to do a rock climbing wall to come back up. Okay?
Oh my gosh, and the kids going to love it.
It's going to be unbelievable. The idea is for every group with all ages to be able to come here.
You have those pictures in your bags.
In your bags. This whole thing you have, each one can take home with you, is to give access for all groups to be able to come at the same time. And he wants more extreme all the way down to wheelchair accessible to make sure everyone experiences it together. And this will bring the water to come down. By us managing to build this, and this is something I want to tell you, by the way, that we're already working on right now. This already exists. We're hoping within 2 years from now to have this done. We want it open and to go through. We are currently
raise almost 5 million shekel. It means
Million.
$1.5 million we raised already, and we start the walk 2 years ago.
How much is the total? How much?
Total is approximately $4.5
$4.5 million.
for the entire project, including the city gate. Okay, this is something within 2 years. And then, with being able to do this, we plan for every group to come, start their shift down, go down, experience it, make it exciting, make it fun, Vanessa restaurant, and then immediately go from here into the canal and get to the Solomon pools.
Birthright program.
Every
Nefesh
burger.
to nefesh.
100%. Okay?
Yeah.
I want this, and the Mayor's dream, is that it's just the standard. You come to Israel, it's the standard. How can you miss such an opportunity and see it?
And
And-
especially for the Christians,
Yeah.
the Christians have to take over again
100%. Okay? Because
we have to unite with the Jews.
100%. Because
regarding-
we understand that to get this, to protect this from the unfortunate destruction that you see it's going through is just by our feet. It's by coming here. And as you said, the plan is to walk it. It's about standing on the land. And it's true to the general which came with us and decided he wanted to walk with us. It's very special. He's a very busy man. Okay. He believes in just as much as we do, but he in the end, they says it will work by the people coming. If you bring me the people that need to be here, and if we build a thing to make it enjoyable for tourism to come as well, it will be open. And we'll be there it will become a monthly basis and then a weekly basis, and then it will just become open and it will become ours.
Has
By the people.
Shmulik Smart El tourists from here yet?
Once the vision was on the table, the group asked member of the Knesset, Ohad Tal, to close out that part of the walk.
And by this point, you could feel the weight of what had happened. We were not just looking at a site. We were standing in the middle of a live argument about sovereignty, history, security, tourism, faith, and the future of the very hotly debated Judea and Samaria.
Ohad speaks in strong terms, and you may hear things in this section that raise questions. That's part of why we include it. Too often, Christians hear about these places only through headlines or slogans. We want you to hear what leaders on the ground are saying when they stand in the land and talk about what they believe peace requires.
It talks about a culture of life, Israeli sovereignty in Judea and Samaria, what the rest of the world knows as the West Bank, and new communities, the Abraham Accords, and the need for nations to recognize what God is up to.
You may agree, disagree, wrestle, or want to learn more. That's okay. The point of walking with us is not to have the conversation be one-dimensional. It's complicated. We want to help you hear the complexity from the ground, not just from a distance.
Today or something else?
So, just to, you've heard about the dream. I think that explain the best that we are a culture of life. We want to promote life. Unlike our neighbors, unfortunately, who glorifies death, we are here for everybody. We are here for life. This is what we are trying to do. And this is basically, these are steps that we are taking in order to actually apply Israeli sovereignty in Judea and Samaria. That is the ultimate vision. That's the only real way to achieve peace. And by the way, we've just announced this week of establishing 22 new settlement or communities in Judea and Samaria. That's an unbelievable. We are actually applying sovereignty. Effectively, we are applying sovereignty already, but we also want to make it official thing. That is the dream. And in order to achieve, to fulfill this dream, we have to realize what is the truth. First of all, the truth is that there is no such thing as a Palestinian nationality. Okay. There is no such thing. There are different tribes, different clans. There are about 7 clans in Judea and Samaria, which, by the way, they're not getting married with each other. They're not even doing business with each other. And we are working behind the scenes. I cannot say a lot about that, but we are working behind the scenes in order to make some of these clans already stating publicly that they want to be separated from the Palestinian Authority and they want to join the Abraham Accords. I'm telling you, the future can be unbelievable. There's so many opportunities, but we also need your help. We need your help. As we've said in the Knesset when we started JPB 3 days ago, we've said, I quoted Psalms, right? Saying, Donna, you know how to recite it by heart, right? That the nations will come and say, God has done great things with you.
for you. And then we will recognize and we will say, God has done great things for us. You're helping us recognize and realizing who we are. And thank you. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for being part of that. Thank you for helping us, fulfilling these prophecies, these dreams. And we are certain that fulfilling these dreams will only bring a better future of true peace, stability, and prosperity for everybody, for all the nations.
After all the policy, security, history, and sovereignty language, the walk ends in a very different place. It ends with prayer.
Because for all the arguments over the land and maps, borders, and control, the deeper question is whether we have eyes to see what God is doing. One of the voices on the walk says that people are looking for signs, looking for revelation, looking for God to show himself, while the problem may not be that God is absent. The problem may be that we're not seeing.
That's a very Jewish way to end the walk. Not by pretending the politics do not matter, but by refusing to stop with politics. The land is never only land. The story is never only history. The conflict is never only conflict.
So as the final reflection begins, listen for the prayer beneath it, that God would open our eyes, help us interpret reality in light of the story already written, and make us partners in bringing his purposes into the world.
That people seeking for God, people seeking for signs, people seeking for God's revelations. But we know that it's already here. But the problem is not God.
That's right.
The problem is us that not seeing that.
Right.
Right? So we're praying for the people to see how God is revealed in our generation. It's here. We live truly in a messianic age. We feel it.
Yeah.
We feel it coming. We feel it here in our land, in our people. But some people are blind and not seeing it. So we have to pray to God that will strengthen us and fill us with his spirit and to be able to open our eyes, our inner eyes, not just physical eyes, right? And to interpret reality as you see, to connect it with the script that's already been written.
Yes.
And it's us, and it's God seeking us to be his partners to bring the flesh to our world.
Amen.
And I think that there is a book that I want to give you as a present. God shall be one.
Oh.
And we all know that when God shall be one, it will affect us to be one. Be'ezrat Hashem.
His motto, it's a book that he wrote.
Oh,
You have to
yeah.
understand.
Oh, yeah. That's a shit. That's a little.
It's not just a book. It's his book.
I'm sure it's
Yeah. So the book is called "God Shall Be One: Revisioning Judaism Approach to Other Religion."
Oh.
So
No, it's about Adonai, Elohim, Adonai, huh?
yeah,
Unity of God.
Because not another God.
Unity.
no, yeah,
Not
the
the God of
The unity of God, right.
The God
There's
of
one
Abraham,
God.
Isaac.
one.
There's only one God.
Amen.
And I will defend it with my life.
Yeah. And the question is if we
We cannot
understand
be humanity.
his will.
3 episodes, 3 borders. We stood just inside the border of Syria, where the region is shifting day by day. We stood on the border of Gaza, where October 7th left wounds the world is still trying to understand. And now we have walked within the border in Judea and Samaria to a place most people will never see.
Efrat, Bethlehem, Efratah, the Solomonic pools, the road to Jerusalem, the water that once supplied the Temple Mount. This line on a map and the soldiers, the local leaders, the people who live nearby and never been there until this day. This is the story of Israel in miniature. It is ancient and modern. It's biblical and political. It's personal and contested. And somehow it's buried and still alive.
And that's why we go. Not because trips like this are easy. We go because the story of Israel cannot be understood only from a distance. Sometimes you have to stand on the ground, walk the road, hear the voices, and let the story become personal. We hope this Borderlines series helped you see more clearly. And as we close this series, we want you to know what is coming next.
This fall on the Jewish Road podcast, we are launching a new series called Zionism, the story behind the word. Everybody has heard the word Zionism, but far fewer know the story behind it. Before Zionism became an argument, it was a story. So we're going to define the word, trace where it came from, look at some of the hard questions being asked, and then ask, what should Christians do with it?
We're going to talk about Zion, modern Israel, the Palestinians, colonialism, anti-Semitism, Christian Zionism, the covenants, Romans 9, 10, and 11, and the question beneath it all, does God still care about Zion?
So stay tuned. Follow the Jewish Road podcast. Leave a review if this series has helped you, and then share it with someone who's trying to understand Israel behind and beyond the headlines.
And for those of you who want to continue partnering with us, thank you. Telling these stories takes people, takes time, relationships, it takes equipment, travel, editing, prayer, resources. The recording you just listened to took hours upon hours to cut and splice to help the story make sense. We're called to be a light, to be a voice, and to be a blessing.
And your partnership begins with prayer. And for those who are able to stand with us financially, you help us continue to go and to listen and to teach and to bring these stories back from Israel to the church.
So to partner with us or receive more resources, go to thejewishroad.com.
And thanks for walking the road with us.
We'll see you next time.
Shalom.